With a musical career spanning well over 50 years, Clarence Gatemouth Brown has seen and done it all. Traveled all over the world, sometimes playing as many as 300 gigs a year. He's appeared on many TV shows and just kept on playing up until lung cancer took its toll and he had trouble standing and holding on to his guitar. Hurricane Katrina took everything he had in the end, and 3 years after his death, Hurricane Ike washed one back up. Want to know more? Well, stick around and hear the story. Clarence Brown, better known as Gatemouth, he was born in 1924 in Vinton, Louisiana, and raised in Orange, Texas. He learned guitar and fiddle from his father, who was a strong multi-instrumentalist who taught him to play Texas fiddle music, traditional French tunes, and even some polkas. He loved his father's lively music, along with that of swing band leader and pianist Count Basie. But, he said, when I was a kid, I listened to very little blues because it made me feel sick inside. It just made me feel physically sick. I wouldn't listen to that stuff. I didn't like it. It made me see disastrous things facing me. His nickname Gatemouth had a few tales. The one I see, which probably has some truth to it, he was given the nickname by a school teacher who said he had a voice like a swinging gate. Is that the truth? I don't know for sure, but it's the one that I've always heard the most. By the time he was in his late teens, he had become attracted to the electric blues of T-Bone Walker. Now, Gate could also play drums and had been working as the singing drummer for a group called the Brown Skin Models. But he soon adopted the guitar as his primary instrument in imitation of his idol T-Bone. He then served a stint in the United States Army in World War II, during which time he played the drums in various bands. And after an honorable discharge, he moved to Houston, Texas and began searching for ways to make money playing music. In 1947, his big break came. He was 23 years old. Don Roby, the owner of the most prestigious black nightclub in Texas, invited him to his club in Houston. T-Bone Walker was playing Roby's club, called the Bronze or the Golden Peacock, depending on who's telling the story. But anyhow, a serious ulcer forced T-Bone off the stage that night in the middle of a performance. Gatemouth stepped in and started playing every hot blues and boogie riff he knew. By the end of the night, the worked-up audience was stuffing money into his shirt and pants pockets. Now that got the attention of Roby, and he hired Gate to play the club and went on to become his manager. He teamed Gate with a swinging 23-piece orchestra and booked him into venues across the South and Southwest. Gate made his first records for Hollywood's Aladdin Records in 1947. When Aladdin's promotion and release schedule didn't live up to expectations, Don Roby founded Peacock Records as an outlet for Gate's music. Dozens of Brown's records, including Okie Dokie Stomp, The Boogie Rambler, Just Before Dawn, and Dirty Work at the Crossroads, became big hits. So starting out with Gate's hits, in a few years Peacock grew to become a major independent R&B record label. But Gatemouth, as I said earlier, had said the blues made him feel sick. Well, he goes on to say, I never bought the Robert Johnson myth, the blues man doomed because of wine, women, or the devil. T-Bone believed in the blues, but the blues, it's a disastrous life. Sooner or later, you're driving yourself 6 feet under. I always wanted to do something beyond the blues, and that's just what he did. He was raised on Cajun and bluegrass by his father, and also some big band sound. So what was next? In the early 60s, he headed for Nashville. He actually moved there for a while. He was working on some kind of R&B TV show that didn't seem to get off the ground, and he was doing some recording. What I think helped his career the most during this time was the friendship he made with Roy Clark. This landed some guest appearances on the TV show Hee Haw and it got him some good exposure. Later on, Gate and Roy would do an album together called Making Music. In 1973, he appeared at the Montreux Jazz Festival, where he jammed with blues rock band Canned Heat. He sang a slow blues number, Please Mr. Nixon. He played guitar and then broke out a fiddle and jammed with it too. The blues might have made him feel sick, but he sure could play it. Gate could play anything. He could play it all, and everything he did with feeling. Frank Zappa, in his autobiography, The Real Frank Zappa, gave Gatemouth, along with Guitar Slim and Johnny Guitar Watson, as having very important influence on his guitar playing. If you've never seen Gatemouth play, he used his fingers to pick with. Didn't use a pick or finger picks, as far as I've ever seen, and he used a capo a lot. And you would sometimes see him play with his thumb behind the capo while doing riffs. He just had his own way of playing. I've never seen anyone like him. Old Gatemouth was pretty grouchy about new music. He said he didn't like it the way it was played. They got 2 volumes, loud and off, and the louder the music is, the less you can understand the message. They're covering up what they do. Everybody up there's shaking their fanny. During his shows, he would stand there and introduce each one of the songs before he sang it. He'd let you know what those songs meant to him. He'd stand up at the mic with his guitar slung around his neck or holding his fiddle and bow and speak his mind. I always tell my audience, listen to the lyrics. Then you won't go home with a blank mind, he said. Somebody will say, what do you play? You won't say, I don't know. He moved to New Orleans in the late 70s and kept on recording and kept a touring schedule of 250 to 300 dates a year. He even went to Russia and did a 6-week 44-concert tour of the Soviet Union. This was a historic event as it marked the first time the Soviet Union made a contract with a U.S. private citizen. This guy would go anywhere just to play his music. Besides doing appearances on Hee Haw, he also did shows on Austin City Limits. He appeared with Roy Clark, Delbert McClinton, Vassar Clemens, and his final appearance in 1996 with Keb Meaux. Austin City Limits is where I first heard him back in the late 70s, and then again right after that he was on Hee Haw. Anyone here have any early memories of where you first heard Gatemouth play? Now with YouTube, you can find many of his recordings and live shows, so if this is your first time of hearing about him, go and listen to him play. Gatemouth was impressive because he could play so many styles. In one of his shows, you would hear blues, boogie rock, country, Cajun, and big band sounding songs. He usually always carried a horn player with him, and they would cut into a swinging number, and Gate could just play twin harmonies and phrase right there with the horn player. The guy had a great feel for music. He would also play fiddle and harp. He was said to be a very good drummer, though I've never seen him play really, but it wouldn't surprise me at all that he could. He kept up his touring and recording right on through the 80s and 90s, and on into 2000. He's won many awards, including National Academy of Recording Arts and Science, won a Grammy Award for Best Traditional Blues Recording for the album All Right Again in 1983. He was an 8-time recipient of the W.C. Handy Blues Awards, Rhythm and Blues Foundation Pioneer Award in 1997. Then he was inducted into the Blues Foundation Hall of Fame in 1999. In 2016, he was inducted into the National Fiddlers Hall of Fame. In 2004, he released his final album, Timeless. He was 80 years old and coming to the end of his career, and unfortunately his life. But not without some strange twists to that. Gate had been suffering from heart disease and emphysema, and now, in September of 2004, he found out he had lung cancer. Doctors decided it was best not to start cancer treatment on him because of other health problems. This pretty much put a stop on his musical career. But even though he was sick, losing weight, and skinny as a rail, he kept on playing shows up to the spring of 2005. Then on August 29th of 2005, Hurricane Katrina came up the Gulf of Mexico, heading straight for Gates' home in Slidell, Louisiana. Slidell is just a little northeast of New Orleans and right on Lake Pontchartrain. So Gate was evacuated out by his family to his old hometown of Orange, Texas, just across the Louisiana line. As we all know, Katrina devastated everything in her path along the coast, and Gates' home was right in the path. He lost everything: house, instruments, personal belongings, you name it, and it washed away. So now Gate was staying with family there in Orange, trying to decide what to do. He was very sick at the time and on a lot of medication. Good or bad, I don't know, but Gate didn't have to worry long, as on September 10th, 2005, Gatemouth Brown passed away with his family around him and was buried in Hollywood Cemetery in Orange, Texas. He was 81 years old. And maybe it was Katrina, not the cancer, that ultimately killed him. When he learned that the hurricane had completely destroyed his home and possessions, he was devastated. He never recovered. He died exactly 12 days after Katrina slammed into Louisiana. Usually I would start to close out a video about now, but there's still yet another twist to Gates' life, or should I say death, and again it has to do with another hurricane. One named Ike that came along 3 years later in 2008 and hit Texas, right where old Gate was buried, and washed him right out of the ground. The water popped the tops off the graves in the Hollywood Cemetery, and about a dozen caskets came floating up, Gates included. But his grave has since been refurbished through the estate's funds. A headstone has been erected in his honor. A marker honoring him was placed by the Texas Historical Commission next to the flagpole at Hollywood Cemetery. I guess you could say Gatemouth Brown lived a long and full life. He was married and divorced a few times, had 4 children, 3 daughters, Renee, Ursula, and Celeste, and a son, Dwayne. He played his music with a passion and recorded numerous albums, toured all over the world playing all the music he loved. He was one of them guys, if you never get to meet him, you sure wish you could have. I know I feel that way about him. I hope you all enjoyed this video on Gatemouth. If you have anything to add, please feel free to do so in the comments. Here's another video on my channel I'll recommend to you that you might like also. As always, if you see fit, please like and share it so others can enjoy. And don't forget to subscribe and click on and ring the notification bell. I gotta run. Y'all take care now. Thanks for watching.